Better days reign. And I got my buddy Chris in the studio, and basically what we're going to do is we're just going to cover some recovery topics and kind of just chop it up on certain elements of recovery and you know, what those elements look like. Today's show is going to be about momentum in recovery. So, Chris, I'm gonna leave it up to you, brother. Go ahead and take off.
So you're talking about momentum. There's a lot of things that go up under momentum, and one of those is balance. We were just talking about that before we came on, and when you're when you hear the word balance in your early stages of recovery, what does that mean to you when you hear balance in your early stages of recovery?
Let's start that over because you're looking at the wrong page.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah. Are they both the same question at the top?
Kind of do.
Because one's about balance, the other one's about momentum.
I see that now, but I went with the first sheet that you gave me.
I did. I printed them out in order. I think I swapped it up. So let's do a redo.
All right.
Just go ahead and take off, man. I'll edit it.
Okay.
I'll edit it all out.
So when you're talking about momentum and recovery, what does that mean to you with your personality?
With my personality, I can almost self-sabotage myself in every aspect of life very quickly, right? I can hit myself with a bunch of negative self-talk. And so for me, momentum affects my personality because like momentum's all about racking up wins, real quick wins, right? So it's those small little wins that lead to something bigger, right? But I had to really look at it as a confidence builder as far as my personality goes. And when I'm stepping into a new, authentic me, right? It's very important that I rack up those wins.
So can you recall a turning point when you first felt the momentum carrying you forward in your recovery process?
Yeah, actually. So when I would go to meetings, and I would speak, and people would kind of latch onto it, it created a space for me to really try to perfect my way of thinking and build on my way of thinking, which kind of catapulted me into wanting to succeed in different areas of recovery and learn more about. So again, it's just racking up those small wins.
So what is the difference when we're talking about momentum? What is the difference between having a good day or feeling motivated?
To me, those go hand in hand. There's times where I can get real complacent at home, and I don't feel fulfilled in the day anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like used to, I could have a good day and not do anything. Now I feel like I have to do something to feel good. It's kind of like a shift in mindset.
Okay. So is momentum really that important to staying sober?
Yes, I'm a big believer in momentum. So I did these little social experiments in my head, and one of the social experiments that I did right was I spent a lot of time locked up, and while being locked up, you watch all kinds of people come in, and I would sit at the table and drink my coffee and just kind of watch these people, right? And what I noticed was for about the first 8 weeks, people are in like this panic stage where they want to get back out, high anxiety, they're feeling lost, they're withdrawing, all these elements that creates like a panic right in the mind. And then after about 8 weeks, I would call it like a window of opportunity, right? Because you within like a day or two after that 8 weeks, you see the mindset shift, right? People will stop freaking out about getting out, and they're saying, okay, what am I going to do when I get out? They start making plans. They get motivated, and that lasts for about a month, right? And so, and that to me is like that window of opportunity where momentum's important, and we kind of lose. We don't pay attention to that, right? So when we don't pay attention to that and we drift beyond that window of opportunity, what happens is they revert back to an even worse state. Right now, I'm thinking about long term prison sentence. I'm thinking about, what gang I'm getting down with, all the unhealthy behaviors that is practiced in a jailhouse or prison setting, right? I think those kind of develop within that next 3 to 6 months after that window of opportunity just kind of gets. And I
So,
treat recovery the same way.
so you're looking at some practical tools and habits. It's kind of what you're starting to gear towards here. Is what it sounds like to me, and so it sounds almost like you're starting to lead into the importance of consistency and routines.
Absolutely.
You want to expand on that?
Um, so take for instance, person comes into recovery, right, and they've been a long term addict, right, and they go out looking for work, and I've come across some people that will be like, yeah, we hire people who are in recovery, right, but they have to have a certain time frame of sobriety because they're scared of all the warning signs, right, um, and I think when we don't allow people to step into the present, right, to who they are or who they're trying to be, right? We kill that momentum, that mindset shift. So then when we actually decide to play ball, we're actually, playing catch up. I've had this person's lost all their momentum, they've gone back into a complacent state, and now I have to build that person all the way back up from ground zero.
So, what helps you build and sustain your momentum in recovery using the tools and habits you've learned over the years, or the last couple of months in your case?
Bro, I constantly have to diversify my support systems. You know what I mean? Like I have a pretty grounded support system, but when I say diversify, I like to talk to people who have a different look, right? Not just necessarily bite off one person's, opinion or insight, but really get a broader perspective. So I have like this diversified, I believe in a multi pathway approach to recovery, which is I have 20 angles to look at instead of just one, and really kind of build my own understanding of life and recovery and just about anything today. So diversifying that support system has meant a lot.
What are some small wins or milestones that people often overlook that actually would help them build or keep their momentum that you've witnessed?
Man, healthy relationships. Um, Healthy relationships, it was a lot. Learning coping mechanisms, right? And I know that kind of doesn't sound like a win, but learning ways to cope with your addiction or cope with life for me was a win because those are those moments of weakness that I'd go back out. So learning to overcome those little moments of weakness and how to identify them, how to address them, and really, and I would say another win is to sit down and be teachable, be
That
willing to learn from people.
kind of like being patient plays a huge role in keeping your momentum.
Has to, has to. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, when I was in addiction, bro, like or coming into early recovery, man, life was full of anxiety and stress. You you're looking at your life as a failure. You don't know what to do with your life going forward. How you're gonna go about it. You know, and you're just in a world of unknown. So it's a very high anxiety uh, time. Learning to deal with that anxiety is tough.
So, I've had the opportunity over the last year to watch you grow, and it's very commendable watching you.
Appreciate it.
And this is one of the questions that I've wanted to ask you for a long time. When it comes to supporting community, because right here at Warrior Garden Studios is a huge community for us.
Right.
Uh, do you think accountability in your partners or your spouses is more important than a peer or support group?
I think they all work together and go hand in hand, to be honest with you. Because again, it gives you that diversified look, right? I started off in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've kind of drifted on from that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say it's not a good program because it is. You know, it's one of those programs you can step into and it always gives you a space to reflect back on your life. Like I can always walk into an AA meeting and whatever the topic is or whatever they're talking about, I can use that to always look at me. It's like introspection, you know what I mean? So I don't ever look at it as a bad thing. Um, but like at the same time, diversifying that gives me different looks, right? It gives me a broader understanding. So my wife is a perfect example of, you know, an unconditional love. The guys at Warrior Starting Studio are a massive support to not just me, but the Better Days Reign mission, which I am truly grateful for. You know, support groups. Again, they're that fellowship. They're that group of people you can go air your problems up to when you need to. And you know, I've been blessed to be able to be a part of different groups and sometimes be a speaker and sometimes sit down in the seat and listen, right? But uh, I feel grateful that I get to be a part of other people's recovery as a mentor, as a coach. You know, I'm actually going to an event later today where I'm kind of a little emotional about it, you know,
Yeah.
because uh, I'm seeing some guys graduate the program, some of these guys that I've been built a relationship with over the last 6 months, and not only to see them push themselves further, but me being there with them has helped me in my recovery immensely. It helps keep me sober.
And that probably helps keep your momentum going as
It
well.
does. It does. It was being a part of that group for the last 6 months um, gave me that bigger than me concept, right? To where it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about me and 50 other guys, you know. And once you start learning people's stories and developing those connections and those relationships, they mean something to you. You know what I'm saying? Like it. And so all those guys really mean something to me, and I'm really happy to see how they've grown and how they've worked together to help each other out.
So with that being said, how do you handle that environment and other people that come from that walk to keep you from disrupting your momentum? Because that has to be kind of hard. Listening to uh, those stories, it has to bring back memories and you know the potential to want to go back and taste it again. For instance, right? So how does that not stop your momentum?
Well, for one, man, I don't ever try to remember or forget where I came from, and I don't try to forget those emotions, and I don't try to forget those, you know, those bad times. But what I really do is when I'm hearing somebody's story, I try to put myself back in that spot and really feel that feeling. You know what I mean? Because what we sometimes the way we perceive someone's feelings isn't what they're feeling, right? I've seen people use accountability in a way, and I've had it used on me in a way to where it's, to me, I perceive it as absolute betrayal and distrust. You know what I mean? Same way with, you know, telling the truth. I look at people and say, why don't they tell the truth? And that's because we as human beings, we don't know how to honor the truth, right? We say, oh, thank you for telling me the truth. Here's your bag of coals, or you know. So it's hard for people to come out of that, and I always have to put myself back in that position and remember those things, right? That sometimes is it is it beneficial for me to come down on somebody, right? And a sense of accountability. Is it beneficial for me to come down to where that person turns their back on it altogether? Was I doing them a favor? Was I doing them any good? Right? And this is the same way I look at the church. You know what I'm saying? Um, a lot of times, it's not the Satanists and the non-believers and you know that talk me out of it. A lot of times, people of faith in the church where I'm just like, dude, I've had enough.
So, can you share a story of someone who inspired you with their ability to keep moving forward?
Repeat the question one more time.
Can you share a story of someone who inspired you with the ability to keep moving forward?
Man, I get daily inspiration, but if you're talking about a speaker, right, that inspired me, I would have to say Chris Herron. Chris Herron from the Herron Foundation. His story really resonates with me. You know, he was a heroin addict that, you know, lost his kids. It's pretty much the same way I did. Ran his life through the mud pretty much the same way I did. And to see the path that he walks today, you know, that was one of my goals, right? Because when I heard him tell his story, right, and I resonated with it so deeply, and then that man goes and does like 150 speaking engagements a year. That's half the year he's doing speaking engagements. I was like, dude, I want that, right? I want to be doing 150 speaking engagements every year. Um, Along with like my mentors, you know what I'm saying? Mentors with their plaques on the walls of their achievements. You know, I would sit in my mentor's office and be like, bro, one day I'm gonna have a wall like that where it's gonna have all my achievements. So there are people in my life today that inspire me, right? And it's those people who come from the same, not physical places, but same mental places, the same traumas, the same outlooks on life that inspire me to want to be better.
I know you've inspired us here at the studio, watching you grow. The, so, one last thing I'm going to ask you is if you could summarize recovery momentum in one motivational statement, what would it be?
Man, rack up them wins. It's all about them daily wins, man, and treat treat your recovery like progress. Every day needs to be progress. Don't let yourself get complacent. You know what I mean? When I say that, don't sit there and say, well, I'm waiting on this to happen, so I'm just gonna chill and be still until that happens, right? Make a plan, make a backup plan, and then make a backup plan to the backup plan, and work all three of those plans in unison, right? So it's if I'm waiting for my driver's license and I know it's not going to be here for a month, right? Then while I'm doing that, I'm working on my spirituality. I'm working on, you know what I'm saying, my mental state. I'll always be working on and educating yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever just sit down and not do nothing in recovery, because you don't know how long your stay in treatment's going to be, right? Some of them are short term, some of them are long term, but there's really no guarantee. And if you're not preparing, then you're getting complacent. And complacency has warning signs all around it. And if you're not ready, you know, you're in a world of hurt when you step back out in the world.
All righty.
Round one done.